This might be the most intriguing true crime case for me personally, and one that I think you guys are going to find extremely interesting. If you're not already familiar with the staircase case of Michael and Kathleen Peterson, sit down and relax, or get up and clean your room, because we're going to be here for a while. Michael and Kathleen Peterson are the two people that we are going to be discussing today, and they were said to have the perfect marriage. They were soulmates, they lived in this big, beautiful house, they were really living this fairy tale life until December 9th, 2001, around 2:40 a.m., Michael Peterson called 911 to report that he found his wife Kathleen lying at the bottom of their staircase. Michael is absolutely frantic on the 911 call. He's begging them, please get here soon. He's saying that his wife had fallen down the staircase and she was unconscious. Oddly enough, on the 911 call, Michael never mentions the amount of blood that is at the scene, which is the first thing that the first responders noticed when they got there, and tragically, by the time that the first responders did get there, Kathleen was already gone. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it for you guys. The amount of blood that was at this scene, it was an insanely large amount of blood for a woman just simply falling down the staircase. And there is photos online, there's crime scene photos. Typically, I tell you guys not to look at crime scene photos, but if you guys want to, I do think it's important to understand the gravity of the amount of blood that was at this scene. It was said that there was over 10,000 blood splatters on the staircase and on the walls. The police on the scene were really suspicious of Michael immediately for more reasons than one. For one thing, Michael's story of events that night is kind of unbelievable. He says that him and his wife Kathleen sat down and they watched a movie, and the movie ended around 11 p.m. The two of them went outside to share some wine by the pool, and then sometime around midnight or before midnight, Kathleen went inside, and then Michael stayed outside for about 2 or 3 hours alone. But it was December, and it was nighttime, and he was only wearing a t-shirt and shorts, which is, I don't know, kind of weird to be sitting outside for 2 to 3 hours in the cold in just a t-shirt, but I digress. He then says that he went inside around 2:30, 2:40 in the morning, where he found his wife lying at the bottom of the staircase before calling 911. It's an odd timeline for sure, but even more suspicious was the blood. Yes, there was an abnormally large amount of blood at this scene for someone who has just fallen down the stairs. But there was also blood found inside of Michael's shorts that he was wearing. A bloody footprint was also found on Kathleen's sweatpants that matched one of Michael's shoes, but he says that he was barefoot for the entire night. And probably the second most suspicious piece of evidence in this case is after the police did a luminol test. I'm sure you guys know what luminol is, but if you don't, it's a chemical that will show where blood has been, even if someone attempts to clean it up. The test showed that someone tracked bloody footprints throughout the house, into the kitchen, to the sink, to the washing machine, and then attempted to clean it up. And I say that this is only the second most suspicious thing because I'm going to share with you guys the most suspicious thing ever in just a minute. But first, let's talk about Kathleen's autopsy. The autopsy showed that Kathleen had 7 deep lacerations to her head, and the medical examiner said that this was likely caused by being hit over the head repeatedly by an object. Also, there was cartilage in Kathleen's neck that was fractured, likely by strangulation. And with this, Kathleen's cause of death was determined to be a homicide. And if you're not already extremely suspicious of Kathleen's husband, Michael, what if I told you this was not the first time a woman close to Michael was found dead at the bottom of a staircase? Years before Michael and Kathleen met and got married, he was living in Germany with his first wife, and the two of them had a very close friend, a single mother named Elizabeth Ratliff. The last time that Elizabeth was ever seen alive, she had dinner at Michael's house, and then after dinner, Michael walked Elizabeth home. Later that night, Michael was seen by Elizabeth's neighbor running away from Elizabeth's house, and the very next morning, Elizabeth was found dead, lying at the bottom of her staircase. In an eerily similar way to the way that Kathleen was found, blood everywhere and deep lacerations to the back of her head. And after Elizabeth died, Michael actually adopted Elizabeth's 2 daughters, left his wife, and then took Elizabeth's 2 daughters and moved back to the United States, which is kind of weird. At first, Elizabeth's death was ruled as an accident, and Michael never mentioned this when his wife was found dead the exact same way. I'm assuming since it happened in Germany, in another country, he was hoping that no one would ever find out. It actually wasn't until Elizabeth's sister heard the news that Michael's wife died the exact same way that her sister did, and he was the last one to see both of them alive. So she alerted the authorities, and they actually exhumed Elizabeth's body to do an autopsy, and it was determined that Elizabeth's cause of death was not an accident. It was actually a homicide. So things are not looking good for Michael Peterson, and he was arrested for the murder of his wife, Kathleen. During the trial, the defense's story was that Kathleen had fallen while walking up the stairs, but then she fell back, hit her head, she tried to get up, slipped on her own blood, so she fell backwards again, she tried to get up, then she fell again, and she did that until she had the 7 head wounds. It sounds far-fetched, especially since if you fall walking up the stairs, your instinct is to fall forward and like catch yourself. But they say that this is possible because Kathleen was drunk, you know, that they were sharing wine that night. But Kathleen actually had so little alcohol in her system that she would have passed a breathalyzer test and would have still been able to legally drive. And I'm sure you're wondering if there's a motive here. Why would Michael want to kill his wife, his soulmate? The prosecution actually had 2 possible motives. The one being financial. Michael and Kathleen were in debt. A lot of debt, actually. Upwards of $140,000 in debt. And Kathleen had a life insurance policy of nearly $2 million. But there's also another possible motive. Michael was having an affair with a man, actually. On Michael's computer, he had over 2,000 images of men. He had also been speaking online to a young male escort for about 4 months before Kathleen died, with plans of meeting up in person to pay for this escort's services. And the night that Kathleen died, she used Michael's computer, which she never did, but she had some work to do and she accidentally left her computer at the office. The prosecution's theory was that Kathleen found this, she confronted her husband, and Michael snapped. He was known to have a quick temper, and since he possibly had gotten away with murder once before, he would know exactly what to do. The prosecution even had a potential murder weapon. Well, kind of. Kathleen's injuries to her head lined up with a fireplace blowpoke, and Kathleen and Michael did have a custom-made, a really nice blowpoke that they had gotten from a gift from Kathleen's sister. And the night that Kathleen died, the blowpoke was missing, nowhere to be found. Ultimately, the jury did find Michael Peterson guilty, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, but this case does not end here. Michael has never been charged in the death of Elizabeth Ratliff, and her 2 daughters have stuck by their adoptive father Michael and have believed in his innocence to this day. And Michael, to this day, has maintained his innocence, and he spent 8 years in prison for killing his wife until it was determined that Michael did not get a fair trial, and a judge awarded Michael a brand new trial. But instead of doing the entire trial again, Michael was given a plea deal, an Alford plea, which we've talked about Alford pleas before. It's a super rare kind of plea deal where you can plead guilty to something while still maintaining your innocence. And that's what Michael did. And then after taking this plea deal, Michael was released on time served. So today, Michael Peterson is a free man. This case is extremely controversial. There's a lot of people out there that think Michael Peterson got away with killing 2 women. But there's a lot of people out there that also think that Michael Peterson was innocent. There's also a lot of people out there that believe in the owl theory. Yes, there is a theory that an owl killed Kathleen Peterson. It seems far-fetched, but it's an interesting theory, and there is some evidence that backs it up. The theory is that while Kathleen was still outside but walking to her home, an owl dive-bombed her, attacked her head, which is, I guess, something that owls do. I'm no owl expert, but apparently the injuries on Kathleen's head are similar to an owl's talon marks. And to escape this owl, Kathleen just ran into her home. She's not paying attention, and that's how she fell down the stairs. When Kathleen was found, inside of her hand was a clump of her own hair. There were also pine needles and some owl feathers, which would make sense. If an owl was attacking your head, you would just be pulling and grabbing to try and get it off. It's an interesting theory, and you guys are gonna have to tell me what you think. Personally, my gut just tells me that Michael is guilty. I just can't get over the fact that someone tried to clean up bloody footprints in the house, and also this happened to another woman in Michael's past. And he was also seen running from her house the day that it happened. Today, Michael Peterson is a free man, and this case remains a mystery. I'm really looking forward to get all your guys' take on this case. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting conversation in the comments. You guys are always coming up with theories I would never put together in my head, so definitely leave all your thoughts, theories, questions in the comment section. And while you're there, let me know what case you want to see me cover next. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.
You're learning so many important things. and I'm so proud of you.
So I found something new pretty weird. I've been doing some tree cleanup out here in the front yard. I don't know if you remember what it looked like at the beginning. I'll go ahead and show. You can see here when we first moved in between the trees, all the overgrowth, the small trees, completely grown over, impassable, and it had gotten 2.5 years worse. You know, I didn't like to change a lot here for obvious reasons, but after doing this, you know, it needed to be cleaned. I can't help but notice that there's a large section elevated off the ground, and it is surrounded by a circle of rocks that look like they were placed here decades ago. You can see here they go around in a full circle. A lot of them are still buried, but the ground itself here is significantly elevated, almost like something very large is buried underneath. I have no idea. You can see here, I'm sure you can see in the video, that it is pretty significantly elevated. Let me try to give you a better look. This tree that's sitting here in the middle, obviously this has been here for a very long time. This is one of the largest trees in the yard, and it's sitting right here in a significantly elevated section, as I said, surrounded by those rocks that I showed you. There's other big trees around here as well. You can see a little better there just how elevated the ground is here. And there's some of the more of the trees I cut down. But you can see there's more of these rocks. They go all the way around, though some of them are still buried, you can see, are mostly buried. But a big circle of stones, you can see they're in the ground, they're covered in algae. I have no idea what this is for, why it was elevated, why it was surrounded in stones. Just another really, really weird thing to add to a very stark, large collection of what's weird already. So there you go.
Mundo is afraid to enter his home when this was captured.
Did you hear about the Mackenzie incident?
Driving. This was murder.
Pretty much there's this girl, Mackenzie. Her parents got called to the hospital and she was been in a terrible car accident.
Yeah.
What they didn't know, what police were about to tell her, was that she's a mass murderer. This is the whole story. This is what happened. She was at a party with some friends, and pretty much what happened, they drive from the party house to go to somebody else's house and just to hang out. Now, it was her friend, and her boyfriend. And they're all watching like South Park, just, late night.
Yeah.
They're still kind of high. And one of the guys said, "Oh, could you drop me home?" Her friend said, "Could you drop me home?" At first, though, she was hesitant.
Why?
At first, she was hesitant. The boyfriend persisted. He said, "No, we can drop him off. We're good. It's right there." So, since they were still sloshed from the party, they fell asleep. One of them was in the back seat. The boyfriend was in the front passenger. But they fell asleep. And what they found out, using the GPS tracking on their phones, the direction she took. Want to claim a $750 Shein gift card by reviewing products online? Click the link in the bio and complete the steps.
The case that we're going to be discussing today has been widely known on the internet as the Henrietta sleepover massacre, where at a sleepover in Oklahoma, 5 children and a mother were all killed. This case is so very heartbreaking and frustrating, and you guys are going to be so very angry when you hear the details of it, but I do have a way that you guys can help by signing a petition in my bio if you just stick around to the end. In 2003, Jesse McFadden attacked a 16-year-old girl named Crystal. He SA'd her while he held a sharp weapon up to her neck. For this crime, Jesse was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and in 2016, he reoffended while behind bars. Somehow, while Jesse was in prison, he was able to get a cell phone, and when he was caught with this cell phone, they found that he had been communicating with another 16-year-old girl named Caitlin in a very graphic and explicit manner. For this crime, Jesse was being charged with soliciting a minor and also being in possession of CP, charges that could land Jesse another 20 years in prison. But his trial was being delayed multiple times. And for whatever reason, despite clearly showing that Jesse had not rehabilitated in prison, continued to reoffend while he was behind bars, and had also not even yet gone to trial for that additional crime he committed while he was in prison against another child, Jesse McFadden was released early. He was released 3 years early in October of 2020. And when Jesse McFadden was released, he was not on probation. He was out living free. Although he was now a registered SA offender, his community was not made aware when he moved in that a dangerous man was now living in their neighborhood. In 2022, Jesse McFadden became the stepfather to 3 teenagers, including 2 teenage girls, when he married Holly Guess. Holly's children were 17-year-old Riley Allen, 15-year-old Michael Mayo, and 13-year-old Tiffany Guess. All 3 children had different biological fathers, but all of them referred to Tiffany's father, Joe, as their dad, since he pretty much raised all of them. He had been in Riley's life since she was 1 and had been in Michael's life his entire life, and even planned on adopting Riley and Michael even after he divorced their mother, Holly. As far as I know, Joe and Holly, despite now being divorced, were civil, and they had an agreement that if they were going to bring anyone into their children's lives, that person had to first be vetted by a background check. And Holly told her ex-husband Joe, her new husband Jesse McFadden's background check came up clean, even though we know that that's a lie. Holly's mother, the grandmother of Riley, Michael, and Tiffany, has come out and said that her daughter was aware that Jesse McFadden's background check did not come up clean, but that he had hired an actress, allegedly hired an actress to play as his victim and talk to her daughter Holly and say that the entire thing was a misunderstanding and that her daughter Holly had been fooled by Jesse. Regardless, and I don't want to seem like I'm victim blaming here at all, these are just the facts, Holly did lie to the father of her children that Jesse's background check came clean, and she even allowed the children of other parents to come over and stay the night at her house without telling them about her husband's criminal background. Which brings us to the weekend of April 28th, 2023. 13-year-old Tiffany invited her 2 best friends, 14-year-old Ivy Webster and 15-year-old Brittany Brewer, to come and sleep over at her house for the weekend. This was not an uncommon thing. The girls had stayed over at Tiffany's house before. The only thing different about this weekend was that Tiffany's stepfather, Jesse McFadden's trial from the crimes he committed in prison in 2016 was supposed to be starting that following Monday on May 1st, 2023, a court date he did not plan on attending. When Ivy and Brittany never came home Sunday evening like they were supposed to from the sleepover and their parents could no longer get a hold of them, the girls were both reported missing by their families. The situation even got more terrifying when Jesse McFadden never showed up for his court date the following day. And by 3 p.m. on May 1st, the authorities had gotten a search warrant for the house, and on the property they found 7 dead bodies, including that of Jesse McFadden. Jesse had killed his wife Holly, her 3 children Riley, Michael, and Tiffany's 2 best friends Ivy and Brittany before he unalived himself. The investigators really dropped the ball on this investigation. Only after a couple days, the family members were allowed to walk through the home where their children had been killed. Not only did the family members find evidence that the investigators had missed, but they were left to see this terrible scene of what their children's final moments were like. In the home were several beds and other pieces of furniture that had restraints, chains, and padlocks attached to them. There were graphic adult toys and also hard substances in various rooms. We do know that Ivy and Brittany were both SA'd, and it does appear that everyone in the house was tortured. For how long, we do not know. And it was proven that some of those items, including the padlocks, had been purchased by Jesse just a few days prior to this mass murder, proving that this was something that he had planned. And also Joe, Tiffany's father, and the man that also raised Riley and Michael, found out that all of his children were dead via a Facebook post. The authorities could not even bother to have given him a call. The way that the justice system handled a criminal like Jesse McFadden is appalling. It's the most catastrophic failure that I've read about in a very long time. Ivy Webster's mother, Ashley, is very active on this app. I do have her tagged below. If you guys want to go over there and show her some love and support, I think she would really, really appreciate that. She is actively trying to spread her daughter's story, as well as trying to spread awareness to other families and other young girls that there are men like Jesse McFadden out there. Ivy's family also had a petition, which I talked about a little bit in the beginning of my video. With this petition, they're trying to have a law passed that they called Knight's Law. This was named after the mascot at the school district that all the 5 children attended. With this law, they are trying to have stricter laws and stricter sentences against predators that commit crimes against children, as well as getting more education to law enforcement officers, educators, and welfare agents. I strongly encourage all of you guys to click the link in my bio. You'll see it right there at the top, and sign that petition. I wholeheartedly support Ivy's family and what they're trying to do, and also wholeheartedly support Knight's Law. So thank you so much in advance for signing that petition. Before all of their lives were stolen, Holly's mother describes her daughter as a beautiful woman who truly did love her children. Riley was described as an extremely artistic and creative girl with dreams of being an artist or a doctor one day. Michael was described as being very athletic. He also really enjoyed video games like most teenage boys do, and he also had an interest in engineering. Tiffany was said to be extremely smart and sweet, and she loved cross-country and choir. Brittany was an extremely outgoing girl. She never knew a stranger, and she had dreams of being a teacher when she grew up. And Ivy's mother, who I got to speak to today, described her daughter Ivy as being incredibly sweet. She loved animals of all kinds, and she wanted to work with animals one day. She loved to play softball. She loved to watch horror movies, and she really could not wait to one day travel the world. A lot of people don't know this, but there are free websites and free services that will show you every single SA offender in your area. This is something that every parent needs to know. Like familywatchdog.us, they will show you every offender. They'll show you their name, their photo, what they did, and they categorize it. All of the red dots are people that committed crimes against children. You can also sign up for free notifications that will show you when offenders move and move out of your area. Also, please do not forget to sign that Knight's Law petition. I have it in my bio. It's right at the top. You will not be able to miss it. Thank you guys so much in advance. Thank you so much for listening to this case today, for listening to Holly, Riley, Michael, Tiffany, Ivy, and Brittany's story. I love you guys so, so much, and what you allow me to do with this huge platform you've given me, and I will see you tomorrow.
Did you know a frozen Megalodon was recently discovered beneath the ice in Antarctica? This shocking find was made by a team of scientists drilling deep into the ice to study climate patterns. What they uncovered instead was the perfectly preserved body of a colossal shark, far larger than any creature alive today. The Megalodon was encased in ice, its jaws still open wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth that look like they could still rip through anything that gets too close. The discovery has ignited global interest, but what's even more terrifying is what the scientists found next. The ice surrounding the Megalodon had signs of recent movement, as if the creature had been trying to free itself. Deep scans revealed that the Megalodon's internal organs, including its heart and brain, showed unusual signs of activity, almost like it was in a state of hibernation rather than being truly dead. Rumors have begun circulating that the government is secretly transporting the frozen Megalodon to a high-security facility for further study. There are whispers that this isn't the only ancient predator discovered beneath the Antarctic ice, and that these creatures might have adapted to survive in ways we can't fully understand. Some experts fear that thawing out this massive beast could trigger something far more dangerous than we realize. If you want to see the leaked footage of the frozen Megalodon and what's really happening in Antarctica, comment view images.
Now here is a video with irrefutable proof of demons at work. Now watch closely. Performing such a feat defies gravity, something scientifically and physically impossible. Here is where it gets really interesting. Look closely. Do you notice that black shadow or demon behind him? Again, performing this is totally impossible without the help of an entity. Did you see it? The demon has been behind, assisting him all the while. Climbing up invisible steps? Just how did he do this? Can you make out that translucent pair of black hands catching him? So, how did this little boy pull off all of these impressive stunts? Is he dabbling with black arts and demons? The ending is really interesting as the demon finally shows itself. So, is this demons at work? As always,
I know my daughter wants to write a book about you, though.
Does she really? We should.
Yeah.
Would she like to? Is she good at writing?
Yeah. She's really good at writing.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, she was like, Mom, when you talk to him, ask him if I could write this book about him. And I was like, yeah, of course, I will.
Oh, yeah. I got to talk to her and stuff, though. But, yeah, absolutely. Of course she can. Of course she can.
I said, I'm sure he wouldn't mind you doing it. I'd rather see her do it than anybody else.
I would rather her do it than everybody else. I'd rather her. Hey, you want to hear something funny?
What, baby?
So this morning, like, I had to go to the first appearance thing, you know? And, like, I'm in the turtle suit or whatever, and they had me in a holding cell. And across the way, they had all these girls, you know what I'm saying, that are, like, the trustees and shit. And listen, baby. All these girls are, like, fixing their hair, looking at me and waving and shit. One girl, listen. Hey, baby, listen. One girl flashed her tits. She pulled her tits out. These girls were showing out. This shit made me laugh, but I was just like, you know what, this shit's crazy. I was like, I laughed a little bit or whatever. I'll tell you what, though, I ain't gonna lie. It made my day better. I'm so tired of being.
I'm sure you see some titties. Fuck yeah.
Stop, baby.
Fuck yeah. I would get excited for seeing some titties too, man.
Right.
Fuck.
They weren't that great. They were kind of small, but they were alright. I mean, they were.
No, I got some big ones for you. Don't worry.
Big ones, baby. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. 'Cause I'm not really small. I'm not a small chick guy. But yeah, listen, baby. And it's like, I was going to try to, there was something I was going to try to do too. I actually told my lawyer today, like, I told her, I said, look, some of the officers in the jail are, like, harassing me, you know what I'm saying? So listen, I just want you to, like, read between the lines, because if they move me to a different jail, right, they can move me either to Naples or La Belle, you know what I'm saying? So,
you're so cute.
Yeah.
You're so cute. I love it.
Hey, listen, I talked about you today to somebody. One dude.
Who?
Just some dude that was coming from the other jail with me. He's actually like, he's kind of, if you get what I'm saying, he's kind of similar to me in a way through like, right, exactly. And so like, I was talking to him and I was just like, yeah, my chick, like, I was just talking you up a little bit, I had to. Just talk you up a little bit, baby.
Aww, that's so good.
You're doing. Listen, because Kristen, you're doing a lot for me, and like I just appreciate, honestly, I appreciate you just being here for me through this shit because it's a lot of shit, and like I know that you love me, and honestly, like I know that like our relationship's getting deeper and deeper, and I feel like really, honestly, like just grateful to have you in my life, to have somebody that like is so caring. It means so much to me to be here for me. It really means a lot,
You're gonna make me cry. Stop.
Yeah, I know. No, but I'm serious. I'm just like, because like the only reason I felt like telling you is because like our relationship's getting deeper, and like we're invested in each other, and like you're just here for me, man. And it's like.
And I will be. And I will be. And I will be.
No, don't cry, baby. It's okay. Don't cry. But I just like. Sometimes it's just good to hear that, like, and sometimes you deserve to hear that. So like, I feel like you do, I just wanted to let you know.
What tattoo suits your zodiac sign? Part 2. Libra, the peacemaker. Libras are renowned for their need for harmony and balance. A tattoo of a yin-yang symbol, representing the perfect equilibrium and unity of opposites, encapsulates their diplomatic and fair-minded nature. Scorpio, the mystic. Scorpios are known for their mysterious and intense personality. A tattoo of a phoenix rising from ashes perfectly captures their resilience and transformative power. Sagittarius, the adventurer. Sagittarians are free spirits with an insatiable desire to explore. A tattoo of a ship's wheel symbolizes their journey through life's vast oceans, steering their own course. Capricorn, the pillar. Capricorns are the backbone of any endeavor, known for their reliability. A tattoo of an ancient tree with deep roots represents their steadfastness and enduring strength. Aquarius, the rebel. Aquarians are unique and often ahead of their time. A tattoo of a starburst or radiating waves signifies their innovative spirit and their desire to inspire change. Pisces, the poet. Pisces are deeply intuitive and connected to the mystical aspects of life. A tattoo of a lotus flower, often associated with spiritual awakening and purity, reflects their profound emotional depth and their connection to the unseen world around them.
So this toy company sent me a sample of a robot for kids, right? I gave it to my daughter for her 10th birthday, and she absolutely loves it. The link's below. I got her the pink one. There's pink and yellow, but I pre-recorded a message in there. When I got it, I opened up the box, put the batteries in, and I pre-recorded a message, like a greeting to her. So when she opened it, she heard the greeting. She absolutely loved it. It's remote controlled. I have 3 daughters, and they all take turns playing with it. It's a great toy, so you can check it out. Click the link below, and if you would like to try it, hey, get one for your kid too. It's awesome.
I saw my friend Brian do a review on this new found footage movie, Milk and Cereal, that came out on YouTube. So I'm like, oh, let me check it out. Like, it's just like a YouTube hour-long found footage movie. Like, it'll be all right. Boy, was I wrong, because what the fuck was this? This movie was so unexpectedly good and twisted and disturbing and fucked up and entertaining, and like, I don't have enough good words for it. Milk and Cereal is about these 2 friends. One of them goes by Milk, and they have like a YouTube channel where they prank people. That's honestly all I'm gonna tell you. Like, I don't think you should know anything else about this movie. I think you should go in blind. That's exactly what I did, and I'm happy that I did. There is a twist in this movie that like completely just changes the course of where you think the movie is going, and it spirals out of control. As I'm sure you can tell by this cover, there is a character in this movie who just becomes so deranged, and he is just so unnerving. This movie is only an hour long, but it keeps you hooked from start to finish. It is like all action the whole way through. And obviously, like, you can tell it's low budget, but it's simple, and like the acting is good, and overall, again, I'm so pleasantly surprised with this because I was not expecting to love it as much as I just did. This one gets a 7.5 for me. Again, it is free on YouTube, so if you think you can handle it, go check it out. But again, be warned, there are parts of this movie that are very unsettling and a little bit disturbing.
This story will make a grown man cry. In 1963, 2 brothers named Jerry and Tom both finished flight school and purchased a small twin-engine plane together. They decided that they would take a flight over the ocean so they can sightsee. But an hour into the flight, a storm started to brew, and before they could even turn around, their plane was struck by lightning, which caused all the controls inside to shut off. With just little air time left, they spotted a small remote island in the distance and decided to crash land on it. They were both instantly knocked out during the crash, but when they awoke the next morning, there was a group of hooded men surrounding them. The hooded men, without saying a word, dragged the injured Jerry and Tom into the jungle of the island. After several minutes, they reached the center of the island, where there was a small temple. When they entered inside, they were taken to a door that led down a long staircase into an underground room. After a few minutes of being dragged down the stairs, they came face to face with a large man who said, "Hello, my good friends, care to join me?" Jerry quickly yelled, "Who are you and why are we here?" And the man said, "My name is Blubber Woods and I'm having a couple of good friends for dinner."
Breaking news, 5 arrests have been made in the death of actor Matthew Perry, including 2 doctors, his assistant, and the ketamine queen. Perry revealed his decades-long struggle with addiction in his 2022 memoir, Friends, Lover, and the Big Terrible Thing. and how he was prescribed Vicodin after a jet ski accident on a film set in 1997. Eventually, Perry was taking up to 55 pills per day. In 2023, Perry was receiving ketamine infusions for anxiety and depression, but soon slipped back into his addiction and started getting it illegally as well. And that's when 2 medical doctors started providing him the drug off the record. One of the doctors that's been arrested wrote, quote, "I wonder how much this moron will pay, and let's find out." For a vial that cost them $12, they were charging Perry thousands of dollars. Perry eventually sought out a new source because of these expenses, one of them being Jasveen Sangha, known as the Ketamine Queen, who's also been charged in connection with another man's overdose back in 2019. On October 23rd of last year, Perry was found face down in his hot tub. He died as a result of acute effects of ketamine and drowning. Shortly after this, the defendants tried to cover up their involvement by deleting text messages and apparently forging medical records. Authorities say the Ketamine Queen sold the drug to Perry's assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa, who injected Perry the day he died, and the syringe was provided by Dr. P, who sold drugs to Perry in the past. 2 defendants, including Perry's assistant, have pleaded guilty to charges already, and a third has agreed to plead guilty. Dr. P and the Ketamine Queen could face life in prison.
Does a 10-hour mukbang, live stream, presses the record button, sits there and eats, dies on camera. There's this Chinese mukbanger. It's not the person that eats a lot.
Yeah.
This mukbanger does timed mukbangs. No, she'll sit there for 6 hours doing mukbangs.
How much is she eating,
fam? A lot. And in the middle of her video, her stomach started bleeding.
Oh,
yeah.
She had to go to the hospital.
Rushed to the hospital. They fixed it and stuff, which is very, like, it was miraculous. And they said, you have to stop doing videos. And the parents were like, listen to the nurse. Stop doing the mukbang.
That's a livelihood, bro.
Yes.
That's a livelihood. You can't
So
just get
she was like, since this is my life, I have to keep doing it. So the next week does a 10-hour mukbang. Live stream, presses the record button, sits there and eats, dies on camera.
Damn. Oh. Just because you want to keep doing it?
Yes, because her stomach finally ripped apart. Oh, crazy. And they did the autopsy. Fam, her stomach had uneaten food, so she was just swallowing stuff at one point. So she was swallowing pizza full, hamburgers, not chewing shit, ripped open.
Damn, so she was just like vacuuming it, bro.
Crazy.
Advanced ancient civilizations, where are they? If advanced societies like the Anunnaki or Atlantis really did exist 30,000, hundreds of thousands of years ago, where's the proof? The debunkers have been asking this for decades, and we finally have the answer. Think about the Fermi paradox. If there really are billions of planets in our galaxy, the chances of life should be fairly high, so why haven't we found any signs of alien life yet? Or, I don't know, maybe we did. Historians, career archaeologists, professors, and Google debunkers claimed the earliest civilization in history were the Sumerians, around 4,000 to 5,000 BC. And when I say civilization, I mean like full-blown societies, you know, towns, farming, pottery, housing, some form of governing body, not just humans, which have been around for much longer. We have the ancient myths of our past, which frequently talk of previous societies of advanced, even godlike beings like the Anunnaki or Atlantis. But the burning question on every debunker's mind, where the is the direct, not speculative evidence of these long-lost advanced civilizations? Because our history textbooks and common archaeology claims there's none. This is what I call the reset paradox. If civilization really has existed for hundreds of thousands of years only to get reset and start all over again, where's all the proof from this colossal timeline? Surely, hundreds of thousands of years of existence must have left behind countless evidence, so here are my top theories as to why mainstream history hasn't found any yet. Theory 1, dismissal. There actually is direct evidence of advanced, super ancient civilizations, as we see in out-of-place artifacts like the 400-million-year-old London Hammer, or even the more recent Antikythera device, which was way ahead of its time to make any sense. But we either dismiss them as hoaxes, claim mistakes in dating techniques, or slap some sort of description onto them that fits into our current timeline because anything else wouldn't make sense in the mainstream narrative. That's what you call confirmation bias. Theory 2, time. It's been too long. Maybe the reason we only have evidence of defined civilized culture going back 6,000-7,000 years is because everything else before then has eroded into nothingness. Even aluminum would fully decompose within 500 years, let alone the tens or hundreds of thousands that would reduce it to an unrecognizable dust. Well, what about materials like glass that can take millions of years to decompose? Maybe these ancient civs never invented glass or plastics, which doesn't mean they were less advanced than us, but perhaps they followed a different evolutionary trajectory than us that didn't include include the use of oils, plastics, and glass the way we do today. They could have had different materials that were superior to our own and were in some way more homogeneous with the Earth, which leads us to Theory 3, biodegradable technology. Imagine that whatever methods and materials these advanced ancients used to achieve technological superiority were completely organic and biodegradable, like the biblical manna, that would fully decompose into the Earth way before our modern society was able to find any evidence of it. Might seem laughable or borderline impossible for us to even consider a possibility, much the same way the concept of an iPhone could have been to them back then. Impossible in one civilization could be reality in another. Theory 4, imperfect dating techniques. Reminder that the technique we use to find out how old something is, radiocarbon dating, only works on things with carbon in them, like bones or wood. Everything else, like stone, is an educated guess at best. What if these guesses are way off, and the carbon-based materials found in and around our ancient sites are not accurate measures of the site's age, but rather of a time that these sites were re-inhabited after being built much, much longer ago. Theory 5, aggressive flooding. You know those global floods that almost every culture of our past talks about to some extent in their ancient myths? Well, what if they actually happened, and the flooding was so widespread and intense that it washed away every bit of evidence of these civilizations into the deepest parts of our oceans, leaving behind only our famous ancient structures like the pyramids, which were too big to get washed away. I'll admit, this one's a bit of a stretch. The chances of washing away every single bit of evidence of a potentially worldwide civilization is a long shot, but combined with all the other theories, it's worth mentioning. Now, before the debunkers start crying again, we have Theory 6. They're just myths. The stories of our ancient past are all just made up myths and none of it actually happened. No advanced, super ancient civilizations ever existed. That's a possibility. Theory 7. There's been an intentional cover-up. Just a theory, may or may not be true, totally satire, entertainment purposes only. My lawyers told me to say that. Perhaps an elite group of the ultra-powerful are aware of the divine knowledge of our past, like Atlantis or even the origins of our species. Knowledge that could be accessed and used by anyone on Earth that threatens their dominance, like free atmospheric energy or immortality. And they're purposely doing everything they can to cover up and downplay any evidence as false. I mean, they definitely have the money to do something like this, so they could pull it off if they tried. Publishing dozens of official news pieces for the media companies which they own, writing up a couple fact-check articles on websites that they also own, and finally influencing the big tech companies, which they are the top shareholders of, to direct traffic only to sources they want the world to see. Everything else they don't approve of is just a nonsense crackpot theory that is dismissed by the highly educated masses who did their research on Google, which seems to be what they're doing to places like Göbekli Tepe and Gunung Padang. Ancient sites that are so old they didn't fit into any of our mainstream historical timelines, so they're doing everything they can to cover them back up. I couldn't believe what I found out about these sites. Stay tuned for that.
In May 2013, this footage appeared on social media and appears to show a step ladder moving all on its own. As it walks itself down the driveway, one leg after the other, the two men watch in amazement as it continues for more than 3 minutes.
Well, anyway, we have seen the ladder walk. I think we better go get it.
The men seem amused, but many viewers have suggested this could be paranormal activity. Others believe it to be caused by minor tremors in the ground, or is it just an elaborate prank?
Just a whole ass spirit Halloween tent. Like, what the fuck? This is sick. Okay, I'm looking for one thing and one thing only, and we're gonna go look for it right now. I feel like we're getting close. This is kind of cool. Listen, this is super sick. This is super cool. There we go. I'm looking for the Art the Clown, please. Hate to see it. Baby Michael's pretty cute though. Yo, if you don't have a pair of sunflower glasses yet though, they even got the Terrifier logo on the back. Yeah, as far as Terrifier stuff, that's all this one's got. What the fuck? Nice little Nightmare on Elm Street section though. And I don't care, these costumes will forever be hot, but a very close second. I came back to this. This is like honestly super cool. Not gonna lie, came in for the baby Art the Clown, but this will suffice.
You see this young man. Look at him very carefully. I am certainly sure that you have already seen him in the outskirts. He offered $200 million to a doctor to completely remove his tattoos. something that can cost him his life in the process.
I've had this video sent to me so many times. Just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true.
Black Alien is a Brazilian rapper and composer.
He's a tattoo artist, no? But anyway, all that bullshit aside, there is no amount of money that can get Black Alien's ink removed. It's physically impossible, even with unlimited money. The tattoo removal science is nowhere near advanced enough to be able to deal with something like that, let alone the extent of ink that this man has got. Not that he's wanting to get it removed anyway. Knowing what we know about the success rate and time it takes to remove a tattoo with a traditional laser tattoo removal, how long do you think it would take for him to get some of that ink removed? Let's say even just a sleeve. Let me know in the comments.
This brand new found footage horror film is actually fantastic. And even better news, it's completely free on the creator's YouTube channel. Milk and Cereal was suggested to me by Marcel's Movies. It follows a couple of YouTube pranksters. One is setting up a prank to play on the other for his birthday. However, as successful as the prank is, it leads to dire consequences for the duo. I suggest not looking up anything else about this movie's plot, and these will be completely spoiler-free thoughts. The movie's actually really well acted, and it's from the team that brought us the amazing horror short The Chair. It's a more realistic, grounded style found footage horror, so there's no supernatural elements here. Think of movies like Creep, Real, or Fraser Park Recut. I will say it took me a little while to warm to this movie, but there's a moment that happened that just grabbed my attention, and I was completely locked in from there. If I had a couple of tiny little gripes, I am curious to who edited the footage together, and why did they feel the need to add music, but those are completely minor quibbles. Everything else here is really solid. One of the characters in particular is incredibly creepy. I'd suggest checking Milk and Cereal out for free on the That's a Bad Idea YouTube channel.
This is a deep dive into the world's most controversial haunted house and why the owner was just arrested for attempted murder. McKamey Manor opened in 2017 in Summertown, Tennessee. That's after spending a few years in San Diego where at least one woman accused them of assault with a deadly weapon. Since then, it's become the subject of numerous documentaries and news articles, including Hulu's Monster Inside, The Art of the Scare, and Netflix's Dark Tourist. The process to even get an appointment is insane. Apparently, there's a waitlist of 20,000+ people. 1. You have to be 21 or older or at least 18 with parents' consent. 2. A completed sports physical and doctor's note. 3. Pass a background check. 4. FaceTime to confirm your identity. 5. Proof of medical insurance. 6. Sign a detailed 40-page waiver with risks such as having your teeth extracted, being drugged, tattooed, having fingernails removed, and more. And before you even sign the waiver, you have to be vetted by a private Facebook group where you're given random, disgusting tasks to prove your loyalty. Here's an example posted on the owner's Facebook. Another woman had to film herself dangling by her ankles while eating night crawlers mixed with toothpaste and mustard. The final rule is pass a drug test the day of the challenge and bring a onesie. Admission is free. All you need is a 50-pound bag of dog food, which gets donated to a local animal shelter. And if you survive the 8 to 10 hours of physical and psychological torture, you win $20,000. But no one has, and according to owner Russ McKamey, no one ever will. Now, there are thrill seekers who have attempted this challenge more than once, but there are people with horrific stories about McKamey crossing the line, and many people want it shut down. Here's a story I found about a Colorado woman named Laura who attempted the challenge in 2016. She was waterboarded, tased, whipped, slapped in the face. At one point she was also submerged underwater, hanging by her ankles, and blindfolded with duct tape. Then they made her dig a hole with her bare hands and lie in it while they covered her face with dirt. All she had was a straw to breathe through for 30 minutes. Then someone took a file and started scraping at her McKamey Manor tattoo, which they had told her to get in the private Facebook group. Laura finally broke down when one of the actors was holding her throat, so she repeated the safe phrase over and over, which is supposed to make them stop. But apparently the actors continued to torture her for several more minutes. Everyone who visits McKamey Manor has to film an exit video, and before turning the camera on, Russ apparently told Laura she's not allowed to say what actually happened. She better say good things only or he'll sue her for $50,000. In 2023, after the Hulu doc premiered, the Tennessee Attorney General started to investigate them. Russ McKamey responded by suing the AG and Hulu for $8.4 million. Now let's finally talk about the recent arrest. On July 17th, police responded to McKamey's home about a domestic altercation. The report states that McKamey strangled his girlfriend to the point that she lost consciousness. 2 days after this, McKamey reportedly R-worded the victim and strangled her again until she lost consciousness. McKamey has been charged with attempted second-degree murder, R-word, and domestic assault. He's apparently out on bond right now, because he posted this statement to Facebook yesterday. He said, "I know everyone has a lot of questions concerning all the recent craziness. Always try to do the right thing and simply tell the truth. This is what I always try to do, and hopefully everything will turn out just fine." His lawyer said the charges are fabricated and that the truth will come out. There are many more stories, so let me know if you want a part 2.
These are the 5 worst theme park accidents ever. Number 5, out of bounds decapitation. In 2008, a 17-year-old named Asia Ferguson visited Six Flags over Georgia, and while he was riding the Batman roller coaster, his hat flew off. Now, he really wanted his hat back, so to get it, he hopped over 2 fences marked with warning signs into the under area of the roller coaster. Little did he know, a train was barreling down the tracks at 50 miles per hour, and in a split second, Asia was decapitated by the speeding roller coaster. Number 4 is the James Hackemer incident. So James Hackemer was an Iraq war veteran who'd unfortunately lost both of his legs in combat. In 2011, he visited Darien Lake with his family and boarded the Ride of Steel, which is technically a hypercoaster because it has a drop of more than 200 feet. So when James boarded the ride, the operator struggled to fasten him into his seat because of his lack of legs. But for some reason, despite the fact he didn't properly fasten him in, the operator said, he'll be fine. And lo and behold, when the roller coaster reached its first drop, James was ejected from his seat, flying out of the ride and plummeting to his death. Number 3, the New Jersey roller coaster tragedy. So in 1999, Kimberly Bailey and her 8-year-old daughter Jessica were at Gillian's Wonderland Pier. They were on a ride called the Wild Yonder, and they were slowly going up the start of the ride. Suddenly, the drag chain released prematurely and the car plummeted backwards at an extremely high speed. Now, the problem is the cart's not supposed to do this, and the bars are only there to save people when the cart's going forward. So the car reached an incredibly high speed and was heading straight for a right angle curve at the bottom of the slope. The car hit the curve, and the force of the turn sent Kimberly and her daughter flying into the air, and both mother and daughter were killed on impact. Number 2 is China's deadly space simulation. This is the space journey ride at Shenzhen, and it's supposed to simulate the experience of flying in a rocket. However, in 2010, there was a sudden power outage which caused a cabin to collide with others, triggering one of the carts to fall off and unaliving all of its passengers. In the end, 6 people died and 10 others were severely injured. Number 1 is the deadliest roller coaster accident in history, but before I get to it, if you like my content, please remember to follow. Thank you. It was 1972, and it was a lovely summer afternoon in Battersea in London, and a roller coaster called the Big Dipper's 5 children and left 13 others with devastating injuries. And this really shook people. In fact, it was so bad that not only did they close down the ride, but also the entire park.
This was the most evil thing ever done. In the 1940s, a man named Sunny Day lived in Land Under, Maryland. He spent most of his life bouncing from home to home in foster care. After his 18th birthday, he eventually got his own place, but grew very lonely over the following months. But one day while he was out grocery shopping, he saw an advertisement for a product called Grow a Friend and decided to order one when he got home. The following week, his package arrived, and inside was a small toy-sized figure of a man. The direction said, "To grow your friend, you need to fill up your bathtub fully and place the figure inside and leave overnight." So before Sunny went to bed, he did just that. But around 4 o'clock in the morning, he was awoken by loud yelling coming from his bathroom. Sunny rushed to check, and when he opened the door, he came face to face with his new friend, and Sunny would then say, "I am going to call you Half Squat." Over the next few weeks, Sunny and Half Squat grew very close and would do everything with each other. But one morning while they were both eating breakfast, Sunny overheard on the radio about a massacre of a family of 5 that happened overnight on the other side of town. And when he listened further, the man on the radio said, "The only evidence left at the scene was writing on the wall that said Half Squat was here." But before Sunny could even turn around, he felt 2 hands on his shoulders.
Why did it happen to me? I don't really know. I do not have the answers for that. I played places like Amityville. That if you gave me $1 billion, I wouldn't go in that house again. Because It messed up my life and my husband's life. Terrible, horrible, horrible place. Oh, it was terrible. That's where I levitated with my body in that home. And
I can't think too hard about alternate universes, otherwise I'll start panicking. Hello and welcome back to part 123 of my series, watching every horror movie of 2024. Today's movie is Hostile Dimensions, which releases Friday, August 23rd. I got an early viewing of it. Hostile Dimensions is a found footage film about these documentary filmmakers who are searching for a missing graffiti artist, and they come across this very mysterious and ominous door that leads them to other dimensions. This movie grabbed my attention like right away because it starts off super creepy and haunting, and you're just intrigued by like what the hell happened to this girl and what's behind this door. It has moments that are reminiscent to Paranormal Activity where we follow like night 1, night 2, and I really liked that. It's a nice mix of like horror, existential dread, comedic relief. We have these like talking dogs, flying whales, but then these terrifying shadowy people and like creepy pasta lore. I loved it. But let me tell you, this movie did have me in my feels a bit because it does pose this question, like what if there were other alternate universes with you in there? Like they might be god awful and scary and horrific, but then they also might be very beautiful and wholesome and have people that you've missed. It was made with a really small budget, but it blends sci-fi and horror and dark comedy just like really well. It's very passionately made and has this like lovely deeper meaning to it. I had a great time with this one. Overall, I gave Hostile Dimensions a 7 out of 10. If you plan on watching it or if you've seen it, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments and be sure to follow to keep up with the series.
It's rare you come across a film that's daunting yet poetic, hypnotic yet horrific. Embrace of the Serpent is all of this and more. This Colombian drama follows an indigenous man named Karamkate at 2 points in his life where he encounters 2 scientists in search for this plant, led to believe that it could cure illnesses. Karamkate, the last shaman of his tribe, is hesitant to lead these men to the plant, but does finally agree, and we're taken into this journey of colonialism and knowledge. Now the film doesn't stray away from displaying the catastrophic effects of the Amazonian rubber cycle. We're shown like just how ruthless this time was, but just in fragments because this film isn't exploiting the trauma of this era. Instead, it's to show the knowledge that became lost. Embrace of the Serpent is an exploration into the vanished wisdom as slavery from the rubber boom wiped out natives. It's a film that's reminiscent to classic adventure films, but has you contemplate on how the modern world treats the earth. And most importantly, this film is a dedication to the tribes whose song was left to fade. This film is available to stream on Tubi, and remember, don't sleep on Latin American cinema.
Have you ever heard of how the city of Venice was started? We can thank Attila the Hun. Apparently he was conquering Europe at the time, and he had Europe shaking in their boots. And he had almost captured Rome, but the civilians of Rome were retreating, and they went into the swamps of Italy, which ultimately became Venice.
Oh.
So the swamps of Italy are now what we know as Venice. But you want to know how he died? Was a crazy conqueror, right? You would think he would die in battle or something. No, he dies on his wedding night. Has a whole shindig, right? A huge wedding party. Goes back to his room. They find him the next day dead, his wife mourning over him. He had terrible nosebleeds his whole life, and he choked on his nosebleed blood and died.
What? Man.
But his people mourned him so much. Women cut their faces at his funeral so that they looked like they were crying blood. And then they murdered his entire burial party so that no one could ever speak about where he was buried. He has still not been found to this day.
Whoa.
His burial site. They say they buried him under a riverbed. So like buried him in a 3-bed coffin that was lined with iron, steel, and gold.
That is crazy.
We need to get Nick Cage on it because I think he's the only person that could find him.
That would be so funny, dude.
Hey, don't think about eating ice cream while I tell you about this horror short. I'm Tyler with Oh the Horror. Hit that like and follow button, and this is called Ignore It. It's about this family that's tormented by this evil entity, and all they have to do to survive is ignore it. But that's a lot easier said than done. I told you not to think about ice cream while you watch this, but I bet you haven't heard anything I've said because you're just thinking about ice cream. So now if you can't do it with ice cream, now just imagine how hard it would be to ignore a creepy ass monster that's lurking in the corners of the room or touching your shoulder and breathing down your neck. It would be almost impossible, and that's what gives this horror short a great source of tension. The The way they use that simple understanding of human nature and then sparingly using the monster throughout the short really helps Ignore It shine. It is a simple yet effective horror short that you can find on YouTube, and it is absolutely worth the time. If you've seen this one, be sure to let me know what you thought of it in the comments.
और बताते कि कोई सरकटा ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर दिखता है वहां पे। शिमला टनल नंबर 33 भाई, ये टनल थी, इसके अंदर है ना लाखों मजदूर दबके मर गए थे टनल बनते हुए।
अच्छा।
और कई बार में टनल बनी, क्योंकि उस टाइम है ना इंजीनियरिंग इतनी हाई लेवल पे नहीं थी कि टनल उधर से खुदी और इधर से खुदी और बीच में सीधी एकदम मिल जाए। वो कभी ऐसे हो जाती थी, कभी ऐसे हो जाती थी। तो टनल का अलग सीन है भाई। वहां पर हम गए थे, इसमें भी साला यही है कि ट्रैक करके नीचे आना पड़ता है, रोड से ऊपर से नीचे आओ आप।
रोड नहीं जा रही क्या? मतलब टनल अभी कुछ हुआ ही नहीं उसका?
ट्रेन चलती है भाई प्रॉपर, रात को नहीं चलती। लेकिन
और रीजन क्या रात को ना चलने का? पैरानॉर्मल की वजह से। फिर आप गए थे वहां?
अब मैं गया वहां पे, तो वहां पर भी क्या रोड काफी ऊपर है और ट्रैक जो है वो नीचे पहाड़ से निकल रहा है टनल से। तो हम 3-4 किलोमीटर भाई आए चल के नीचे टनल में अंदर गए। अब उसमें भी भाई बड़ी डार्कनेस है टनल के अंदर ना, 24 घंटे पहाड़ से पानी रिसता रहता है, हर तरफ से बूंदे टपक रही है टनल में। बड़ा डार्कनेस है, बहुत डार्कनेस है। और बताते कि कोई सरकटा ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर दिखता है वहां पे।
सबसे पहले शुरुआत तो शायद उस ऑफिसर से ही हुई थी।
हाँ,
उड़ा लिया था ना शायद उसने जाके अपने आप को, कुछ तो हुआ था।
शायद कुछ ऐसे ही हुआ था कि वहां पे वो टनल सीधी नहीं कर पाया था, उसके कुछ डिप्रेशन में था वो
बात आ गई थी।
हाँ, वहां पर 3-4 टनल अलग अलग बनी हुई है। जो फेल हुई टनल है ना वो भी वहीं पर है, अभी भी है। उनके अंदर पूरा पानी भरा हुआ है।
जितना मैंने एक बार पढ़ा था जब हम करते थे इसमें रिसर्च वगैरह, तब बताया गया था कि मजदूर को भी बांध के उसी ने रखा हुआ है ब्रिटिश ऑफिसर जो है।
ऐसे कुछ था, साइकोपैथ टाइप था वो, और डिप्रेशन में था काफी ज्यादा, टनल सीधी ना कर पाने की वजह से, और फिर उसमें प्रेशर था।
जो स्थानीय लोग थे उन्होंने बहुत देखा ऐसा घूमता हुआ वहाँ पे।
हाँ, वो तो आए दिन भाई वहाँ पे बताते थे, जितने भी स्थानीय लोग थे कि भाई सरकटा कोई बंदा यहाँ पे घूमता। हाँ, और प्रॉपर अपने ऑफिसर ड्रेस में। शिमला की तो बहुत कहानी है यार।
Imagine being kidnapped and held against your will for 26 years, and the entire time you were just 200 meters away from home, and no one knew. This is the terrifying and true story of Omar bin Amran. In 1998, 19-year-old Omar left home to go to vocational school about 45 miles away, but never returned. At that time, his home country, Algeria, was in the midst of a brutal civil war. His family feared that he was among the hundreds of thousands of people killed. Meanwhile, Omar's dog Rocky started acting strange, running over to the neighbor's house and constantly barking. Then Rocky mysteriously dropped dead. Over the years, Omar's family held out hope that he was still alive, but unfortunately his mother passed away in 2013 and would never know the outcome. Fast forward to May of this year, and authorities received a major tip through social media. It turns out that Omar's neighbor, identified by his initials as BA, was fighting with his brother over an inheritance. And this brother was probably thinking if BA goes to jail, he can't get any of the inheritance. So he makes a post on social media suggesting that BA was involved in Omar's disappearance. So authorities searched the neighbor's home. In a sheep pen, they moved some hay and found a trap door leading to a cellar. This is the moment they found Omar, who is now 45 years old. The neighbor tried to run but was caught by police. According to one report, Omar could sometimes see his family through a window, but was unable to call out to them. He recalled feeling, quote, as if there was a compelling force inside me preventing me. This has sparked rumors of witchcraft and black magic, but it is possible that Omar was suffering from Stockholm Syndrome or the extreme effects of isolation after so many years. As of now, no one knows why this kidnapping took place. Omar is unable to communicate what happened over the past 26 years.
5 films to make you shit your pants. Let's go. The Fourth Kind, fuck me, this is one creepy sci-fi movie from 2009 about people mysteriously disappearing. It's got some properly unsettling images and jarring scares that get under your skin, and if you were a teenager when this came out like I was, then this will have seriously messed you up. Tourist Trap from 1979 is a cult classic horror slasher that delivers some of the most disturbing visuals, mannequins and masks you will ever see. Set in a roadside museum, a group of friends find themselves trapped inside with a psychopath who can use telekinetic powers to bring his creepy figures to life. This is pure nightmare fuel, but absolutely brilliant. The Autopsy of Jane Doe speaks for itself with the title. A young woman comes in to be investigated by autopsy, and the 2 coroners working on her body, one played by Succession's Brian Cox, one played by Emile Hirsch, start to experience horrifying things. Some properly horrible jump scares in this, and it is just a cold, eerie movie that keeps you on edge. Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor is so scary I told my TV to fuck off. The fourth in the franchise of supernatural found footage movies, the first one I've covered in one of these videos before, also terrifying, but this one just bombards you with skin-crawling scares, things lurking in the background, sudden jumps, and of course, creepy fucking clowns. Deadstream has no right being this scary because it is also very funny. But don't let that put you off, because this found footage movie about an obnoxious streamer live recording his stay at a haunted house has some really effective scares that will soon have you hiding behind a cushion. A brilliant and inventive film from Joseph and Vanessa Winter that is loads of fun but equally terrifying. Are they on your scariest movies list? Let me know in the comments. Like and follow for loads more horror, TV, movie and pop culture content, and I'll see you in the next video very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.